Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we are talking about my autumnal TBR, so the books that I want to read in September, October, and November. Before we dive into the TBR portion though, I do want to reflect on last season's TBR for the summer and talk about what books I did or didn't read. So last time I kind of put all of the books into different categories, so I think we'll go by category this time again. The first category was buddy reads, which I had 3 buddy reads, which ended up all being in August somehow, but one of them actually wasn't on my original TBR because I think I planned it after posting that video, but I'll include it here, which was Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I buddy read this with my friend Musetta and I gave this 3.5 stars. The other buddy read that I completed was Path of Fate by Diana Farrow Francis, and I buddy read this with Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron. At this point, I don't think he's finished this one just yet, but I also gave this one 3.5 stars. And then the last buddy read is one that I am currently reading, which is Miranda and Caliban by Jacqueline Carey. I'm buddy reading this with Kara from Wild Book Garden, and yeah, I'm in the process of reading this one yet, so it doesn't have a rating just yet. Okay, so the next category is series continuations, which this group also had a bit of a change after I posted the video, which is that I just removed one of the books from my TBR as a whole, which is Hunter's Death by Michelle West, which is the second book in the Sacred Hunt duology. This is a bind-up of the 2 books. So I am going to be continuing on in this world, but I decided at the moment I'm not going to be continuing with this series. Maybe someday in the future I'll circle back around, but I didn't really enjoy the first book enough to continue with this series, but I've heard the rest of the books in this world, but in different series, are much better. So this one is off the TBR. Okay, so then the other books that were series continuations, I only finished one of them, which was Realm of Ash by Tasha Suri. I gave this 4 stars. Then I had 2 books that I did not complete. The first one is Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb, the first book in the Rainwild Chronicles. I still need to start this series, and the other one is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, which is the second book in the Devabad series. The next category is rereads, which I only had 1 book and yet still managed to not read it, which is The Witches of Ilianan by Kate Forsyth. At the beginning of the year, I was doing really well at like rereading books, and then that just went downhill and I have not been rereading a whole lot, but I did reread Fox Mask by Juliet Marillier, so not the one on my TBR, but I did get a book reread. Anyways, then my last category, oh no, second to last category is just other books that didn't fit into anything else, which were Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko, which I did read and I gave this 4 stars, and then Into the Heartless Wood by Joanna Ruth Meyer, which I have not completed yet. And then the final category is the poll pick that y'all voted on, which was Blood Magic by Tessa Gratton, the first book in the Blood Journals series, and I gave this 3 stars. Okay, so that was the reflection on summer. Now we can move on into fall and get started with the autumnal TBR. So once again, I think I'm going to put these into categories. I'm taking a similar approach as with the summer, where I'm just gonna, you know, list a whole bunch of books. Not guaranteed that I'm gonna read all of them. The only ones that are guaranteed are the buddy reads and the poll pick, but everything else is up for grabs. But I'm gonna put them into categories to like help me keep it organized. But as before, we're going to be starting with the buddy reads. So I have 3 buddy reads planned so far. The first one is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, which I'm going to be buddy reading with Jolene from Jolene Reads. And this one is a new release that's kind of a Little Red Riding Hood / Beauty and the Beast retelling, I think. And I have generally been hearing pretty good things about it. I'm hoping for some good forest vibes. that's what I'm going into this expecting. Then I have 2 buddy reads with my friend Kara, because we keep making plans to buddy read things, because we always have such a good time. So I'm not exactly sure when these ones are going to happen, but first is Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. This is a YA fantasy that is the first book in a series. I'm not sure, it might be a trilogy, but I'm not sure. Which I'm also hoping for some good forest vibe from this one, because it is about a forest that is inhabited by lost souls, and I think a spider king, and our main character is the only one who can communicate with and maybe control these souls. So I'm hoping for good things from it, although I've heard some pretty mediocre reviews, so we'll see what happens. Then the other one that I have is, these are all very like foresty buddy reads apparently, but this is also a reread, which is Wildwood Dancing by Juliet Marillier. So Kara and I have both been meaning to reread this book for a while, and so we decided to buddy read rereading it. So this is a kind of 12 Dancing Princesses / Princess and the Frog YA fantasy retelling with like fairies and everything. I remember really enjoying this. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I really loved this when I read it the first time, so I'm excited to reread this one. All right, then we have series continuations again, which I only have 2 in this category for right now. One of them is once again Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb. I'm just putting it on TBRs until I make myself read this book, and it's not that I don't want to read it. I don't know, for some reason it's hard for me to like get started reading Robin Hobb's books, but once I start them I like them, so like I don't know what the problem is, but I need to start this because I wanted to read at least the first 2 books in this series before the end of the year. I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. Like, it's totally doable, but like I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to make it happen just with my I don't know, motivation and organizational skills. We'll see what happens. Anyways, this is the first book in the Rainwild Chronicles. Then the other series continuation is kind of the beginning of a series, kind of a continuation, which is the Hidden City by Michelle West. So this is the first book in a series which is called, what is this series? The House Wars. But this is the series this is the same author, and it's set in the same world as the Sacred Hunt duology. So it's starting a new series, but it's sort of a continuation because it's like in the same world. I'm putting it in this category. We'll just go with it. And then for rereads, so Wildwood Dancing is going to be a reread, but I am also hoping to reread The Sharing Knife by Lois McMaster Bujold. So this series, I actually don't remember that much about it, but we're following a main character named Fawn who has left her town or her village, and she encounters someone called a lake walker, which are these like mysterious people that everyone thinks are necromancers because they have bone knives that people think like drain the life out of you or something. And she finds out that there's more to the lake walkers than she knew, and she gets kind of involved in this larger storyline, of course. But I remember really enjoying this series when I read it years ago. I generally enjoy Lois McMaster Bujold's books, so I'm excited to reread this series. Next up, we have the books that don't fall into any of these categories. So the first one is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. This is a standalone, I think, fantasy that is inspired by Hungarian history and Jewish folklore. And I think this is also supposed to have a lot of forest vibes. I generally think of myself as someone who doesn't like pick books based on the season. Like, I don't pick like spooky books for the fall and stuff like that, but I am picking a lot of foresty things, which is kind of my general reading vibe anyway, but like it seems like a lot specifically for the fall, so maybe for the fall I'm just like really especially feeling the forest vibes. Anyways, I'm excited for this one. Then another new release that I want to get to is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I finished her Books of Amba duology a couple months ago, it was recently, and now I want to get to her new release that is the beginning of a new fantasy series, which is very exciting. So I'm excited to start that one also. Then I have Fireborn by Rosario Munda, and this is YA fantasy with dragons, and I've heard and a lot of politics, and that's about all I know about it, but I know that people have really been loving this series, and this is one that I did get like swept up in the hype for it, and that's why I got it. So I want to finally try this. And the last book in this category is Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. I just have heard such amazing things about this novella, and I have been meaning to get to it for a while, so putting it on my TBR to make sure that I do. Alright, so those are all the books that I know are currently on my TBR for the fall, and the last portion of this is the books that you get to vote on to add a book to my TBR for the fall. So I have 3 books here, which are all kind of in like the adult fantasy genre age range, I guess. So the first one is The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson. This one I actually have already started and I was enjoying, but I just wasn't in the mood for it at the time, so I kind of put it down and haven't gotten back around to it, but I've really been meaning to. It's described as eco-fantasy. There are these like floating cities above the endless sea of prairie grass, and there are these boats or these ships where people fly across the grass, powered by bone magic, and they have to harvest grass and avoid pirates and all of this. Our main character is on one of these ships when her grandmother goes missing, disappears into the grasses, and she decides to go after her grandmother and find out what happened to her. So that is The Forever Sea. Then I also have The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichec. This is a Norse mythology inspired, I think maybe a bit of a retelling of Angrboda's story, who I think has children with Loki. She's like a witch who has children with Loki, and her children become these like really famous figures in Norse mythology. So I think this one may also be kind of foresty. This one will not be foresty, but naturey still. So there's that. And then the third one that you can choose from is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. This is another one. This one has bone magic. I think our main character has like lost her memory and needs to regain it in order to be able to like get the throne. She's her father is the king, I believe, but she needs to like get her memory back in order to regain the throne. They have this kind of bone magic where they create these constructs. I don't really understand how the magic works because I haven't read it yet, but apparently they create constructs out of bone magic, which it just sounds really cool. Another one that I've heard amazing things about. So the books that you can choose from are The Forever Sea, The Witch's Heart, or The Bone Shard Daughter. The poll will be in my community tab, so I'll put a link to it in the description, or you can just go to the community tab on my channel and there will be a poll there to vote on. It'll be up for, I guess, I'll leave it up for 2 days, and then I will post which book you all voted for and which one won. All right, so that is all for my autumnal TBR. Let me know what books you are most excited to read in the fall. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye!